For human rights, most people have a sense of what human rights are, or think they have a sense of what they are, until you ask the question what human rights are, and then the blanks come, the blank stares. And if I say right to life, for instance, you're like, yeah, I know everybody has a right to life. But what it means is like, yeah, I don't know, but I know everybody has a right to life. So freedom of speech or free speech, that's one of the basic tenets of American democracy. So it's everybody knows what free speech is, but then when you ask the questions, like, first of all, we start from that point where they are, okay, we have this basic understanding. And then, like I said, we ask the small questions, and then the medium questions, and then the big questions. So through that, we can begin to think about the complexities of the problem beyond the basic understanding. Like I said earlier, if we start from the big questions and the bigger questions, sometimes they're so overwhelming that it paralyzes and you just don't want to do anything about it. But if you start from the comfort of the familiar, then by the time we try to think about the difficult questions around those, we can use those basic concepts that we have already to respond to those big questions. Now, it may not be the best response, but at least we have taken a crack at it. Then once we've taken a crack at it, it's easier to then go back and like, oh, yeah, that particular issue, I think about it differently. Okay, good. It's not something like, oh, I just don't want to think about it. You know, when I first started teaching here at Western, I showed a film in class. And I just took it for granted that everybody knew about the subject. And later, I was informed, or I was told, that students in the class were really traumatized by the film. And one especially said she could not sleep through the night. I thought everybody knew about it. That was a bad assumption on my part, very, very bad. Over time, when I want to do that, I try to prepare people for that. In some cases, I will ask if they really want to watch it, because sometimes I think some of these images are very disturbing. Through that original experience, I found that it's better to introduce those issues gradually as opposed to abruptness. I cannot measure people by the same standard, and particularly because not everybody has the same understanding. I tell people, if somebody is falling into a ditch, if you want to rescue the person from a ditch, you don't jump into the ditch. You offer a lifeline and bring the person out. So that's exactly what I try to get people to do in class. Some people are down here, they don't know, but they need to know. The people who know can offer that help to them. Sometimes they're able to translate the language which I'm trying to express to their colleagues better than I can do, because they understand it. They understand what I'm trying to say. For some other people, it's too technical for them, but they can use the vocabulary which is common with them to help the other people. So that way, the issues then don't appear so intimidating as originally, because, oh, if X understands it, I should understand it. If this is X's understanding, I think it's close to what I understand as well. That way, everybody at least gains something from the class. One of the things I put in the syllabi for my classes is this line about self-care. These are very heavy topics. These are very difficult topics. They are traumatizing. Even people who have secondary trauma, they are not the victims, but when they think about what people have suffered, they carry that along with them too. So in dealing with those, there is a possibility that students will get burnt out. I try to, maybe not so overtly, but I try to work with them in that journey. Let them understand that, for one, this is very traumatizing for us viewing these issues or thinking about those issues, teaching about them or talking about them. But imagine the people who actually experienced it. All we are called upon to do is to empathize we are not the ones suffering directly, but we can walk along for those people and help as they try to rebuild their lives. So even if they are fatigued, they understand that they are looking at these issues from a point of privilege. Like I said in the syllabus, I put that note about self-care. Talk to somebody that you're familiar with or you know who can help you through this. Talk to your friend or talk to a counselor or do something like paint, draw, sing or something, something to take yourself out of that thing. And in one of the classes, not the human rights class, the world issues class, we allow students to do what we call creative speaker reflection. So when the speaker has spoken at the World Issues Forum, you have a presentation, then I expect them to also provide a reflection on what they heard from the speaker. But in some cases, we ask them to do a creative reflection, which is like, okay, some people will draw, paint, do artwork, sew, sing, that kind of thing, do a video, or something to express themselves that takes that heaviness out of their hearts. In some sense, it's not that I set out deliberately to do something to make conversations easy. For the human rights class, for instance, I started with the basic introduction, what are rights, and we have these examples of stories and whether they involve human rights, people should think about those. Then I go through the procedural aspects. By the time we are done with those procedural side, I now start looking at the substantive issues of the rights. Then it's like, oh, okay, it's easier now. I'm not sure that it will work in every circumstance. Essentially, having these building blocks, introducing concepts at stages which I think might be useful for their understanding, then opening them up to the larger questions, and then by the time they get to the larger questions, all those basic things then begin to make sense. Because now they can use that as the framework to understand all the other issues that we face.